Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today is finale day in our look at the Wei Jiang oversized KO of the Toyworld Throttlebots. And today we're going to look at the combine mode when they all go together to make a huge gestalt, and just how effective that gestalt is in the latest GotBot True review. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, your most humble host, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. I'm saying it for now. I don't know how long it's going to last, but as always, please like, comment, share, of course, subscribe. Subscribe. It's so very important now. And as always, I guess hit the notification bell so it lets you know when content of all sorts goes up for the next month and a half. I don't know. Like, I can only laugh about it because it's so stupid. Check out Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor, Transformers Collectors NL, and more important than ever now, have a look for me everywhere across social media. You know, I don't know if I just said check out Transformers Collectors NL and the Autobot family. If I didn't, then do that too, I guess. But nevertheless, we're going to dive in and we're going to see that huge combine mode and see kind of how it scales with different classes of figures that we know and love. It's impressive in combine mode, but it's not perfect in combine mode. Anyway, without any further ado, let's head over to the table and get this big lad put together. And yes, indeed, today is our finale of our look at the Wei Jiang oversized KO Throttlebots based on the molds that were used originally by third-party company Toyworld. Yes, I know it's a mouthful, but here on build day, I already have all 6 team members in their like limb, torso configurations. I showed the transformation from vehicle to each one of these in the individual character reviews. I did not, however, show how they connect to the pieces, like the foot piece or the knee piece or the head crest with the shoulder pieces. So we're going to see all that as we go through now, although I did, I think, show a few of those pieces attached already to Wideload. Nevertheless, we're going to start from the bottom and work our way up. That means we're going to start with our legs first. And where better to begin than with the guy who I think is the strongest of the bunch, Rollbar. And so we begin with Rollbar, and we'll show how we put on his foot piece and his knee piece. Now, that being said, he is specifically going to be the left leg. Why do I say that? Because when we bring in this foot piece, we have a slider here and a slider here, and they are down low, and they specifically fit into the slots for him. And they have, straighten up the toe and the heel, and they have an ankle rocker this way. Specifically for him. Now, there's a slot in right there, and there's 2 slots here and here on the sides. Those slots on the sides are for, and I guess the one in the back are for his knee piece. And if you open up the knee piece and bring it in, it looks like this. We have the front of it open, we have the 2 sides flared out, and we have a rounded peg on either side that's flared out, and we have a rectangular peg right here. This rectangular peg goes slotted in the back. Then we bring down these 2 side pieces, and they will peg in on holes on the side, and then finally, to secure it all, we bring this front piece down, and there's a peg here and a peg here that goes into 2 holes on either side, there and there. And now we have a leg and a knee and a foot all together. We have up top another slider that will be used when we do the attachment to Wideload. But we do have another leg to get through, and that leg is Searchlight. And Searchlight's foot piece, when we bring it in, looks different. You can see the attachment here is raised higher because when we bring the tires out here, the slots are raised higher. So this one will specifically, if I can just make sure that they are all the way up. This one will specifically slide in there and straighten up the toe, and let's make sure they're together. And we will take the other knee piece that we have, if I can just find it, and again, it is opened out, and we come here and using this slot here on the back, we place that in there. Then we bring this down on the side to peg in on the side there and there. And then finally, using this piece in the front, we slot it down and over, and now we have this leg also attached and secure, and a foot and a knee and the whole thing. And it's a solid leg. We have a connection piece up here that's a slider, again, for our torso. And speaking of the legs and the torso, here now we have two legs and a slider here and a slider here. And when we bring in Wideload, there's a slider here and a slider here, and that is how we will attach this. They just slide on over, very similar to Combiner Wars, if I'm being real honest about the connections. Not perfect, but similar. And when they're both slotted in, this is what we have. The guy's getting kinda big, and now we need to deal with that upper body. And when we're talking about the upper body, we actually need to turn it around and see it from the other side like this. Oh, by the way, before we go, one quick note. This chest piece should flip out and come up over, and there's a little rectangular peg there, and a little slot here and right here. They fit down over that, and I did not have that done. But we do need it done for everything to kind of fit in here nicely and peg in. Now, when we peg everything on, it will look like this. And as you can see, the head, which is still back onto us, is attached to an entire section. Over here is a shoulder, over there is a shoulder. That's how we'll attach the arms. But before we can kind of show the torso all together, we do need to attach the backpack, that being Goldbug. And the way that Goldbug will attach is basically we have two pegs here and here. They will go into two slots on the waist of Goldbug, and then we have a peg hole that's, I gotta find the peg for it. We have like a series of, like, here's a peg hole, there's a peg to go in there. There's a peg hole for it to go into. You can kind of see how it goes. Everything sort of lines up, and it all kind of pegs on, so that when the backpack's on and everything has been pushed in, it looks like this. Now, if I'm being honest with myself, I don't think that this guy really needed a backpack, but hey, there's 6 team members, so you had to do something with the 6th. And you know what? A backpack is a bit different than a chest piece, at least. Nevertheless, you don't really see Goldbug anymore in the combined mode. A little bit of a shame, but he's there, he's hanging out. And what we do have, and what we do see for the combined mode, when we look at this big fella, kind of looks like this so far. And you can see exactly what we have thus far. Yes, there's a lot of parts forming here, because we have separate feet, separate knees, separate shoulders, upper body, I guess, and head. And we still don't have the arms on yet, but the arms will attach here and on the other side. There are 2 pegs. I'll show you where they go on, because we do have to show how we attach the hands. And then we'll see exactly how the arms go on. But before we do that, let's just take a quick look for a moment at his glorious head sculpt. And look at the glorious translucent red. It looks beautiful. The head sculpt is fantastic. Maybe silver or a gray instead of black on the face would have been nice, but it's a gorgeous head sculpt. And now that we're back here to an arm, specifically the right arm, you can see that we have a couple of ports right there. They'll go on the shoulder, and then we can open the legs here, and you'll notice we have a little circular port there, and on the other side, when we bring in a hand, and we'll talk about the articulation of it, but we can see that we have a bar here and 2 pegs. One will go in on that side of the hole, the other will go in on this side. And then the legs will actually tab together. And for the record, when we look at the other arm, we have 2 ports right there that will go on the shoulder. And again, we split the legs, we put the hand in the same way, sandwich it in between. And now we are back here with the big gestalt and we're just about done. We take this arm and bring it in with these two peg holes right there and there. We put it on over these two pegs right here. Once we line them up, they should peg on just fine. We do the same on the other side so that he looks like this. What a big bad mamma jamma. That being said, we also have a huge, nicely sculpted blaster, a lot of red detailing on it, mostly black, some silver detailing, as is the case often with these, much like a lot of masterpiece type of blasters, or like the blasters that often come with Titans, such as Metroplex or Fort Max. We have a rectangular peg here. It can slot up in the hand and then slot into a slot on the hand to hold it in position, so that it looks like that, and he can actually hold it. In terms of grades, let's do this once and for all. In terms of grades, his transformation to get in this mode, the two arms are easy, the two legs are easy. Goldbug is hard, and getting wide load in his torso configuration is also challenging. Overall, I'm going to say getting in this mode is going to be somewhere around, oh, I don't know, a 7, maybe a 7.5. By the way, one last piece that's not on yet that I just noticed I forgot is the waist skirt. These two side flaps are on ball pegs, and there's a little like rectangular slot there, goes over this slot right here on his pelvis, and looks like that. This is him now finally complete, so 7 for his transformation. In terms of the look and the paint apps, you know what, he's not supposed to be a combiner, but like, it's cool how it comes together. Every part looks individual, but yet it does look cohesive. I wish this guy was red, but I'm gonna say that honestly, 10. We kind of have nothing else to compare it to. It looks really good, so I'm gonna say 10. We have a 7 and a 10. What about the articulation? Well, the head, it can go, see if I can show this now effectively, left and right. It can go up and down. The arms, they're able to go out and down. They are heavy. This piece does still like to fall down. Of course, it's not quite transformed correctly. They're on heavy, heavy ratchets. We do have really double elbows because of the weight, or the hips and the knees. We do have a swivel because of the waist. We do have a wrist swivel, though it's tight. This is going to come down because it's not able to hold in the way it should because of the alternate transformation, though it usually does hold in a little bit better than what it's doing there now. I'll have to worry about that after. When we get down to the legs, oh, and the arms can go all the way out if you want them to. When we get down to the legs, they can go all the way out to the side and do the splits forever. They can go back quite a bit, and it holds. Can go forward. If you get all of this out of the way and get the hip skirt out of the way, like, it can go well forward, honestly. Quite well forward. We do have a thigh swivel here. We do have a knee bend. Again, pretty heavy ratchet. We do have ankle tilt. We do have a swivel. So we kind of have everything you'd want. Now, how effectively does it all work? Well, that's a little open for debate, but you can definitely, with a bit of patience, score some cool poses. Something that looks like this. And I don't know, maybe this looks dynamic to you. A couple of things to correct on. The blaster is a bit too heavy. It does weigh down the arm, and in terms of the outward movement of the arm, I think this is about all you're gonna get. I didn't want to push it. You might get more. This isn't mine. The whole set is on loan to me by friend of the channel, Wayne. I appreciate him letting me take a look at it. It is impressive. And I also didn't mention when I went through the articulation that the hands have individually articulated fingers and a couple of joints per finger. We have like a base pin, it looks like, and maybe a base ball joint, and then one, maybe 2 hinges per finger, and they're all individually articulated. So that's impressive. I wish it was a little stabler. That's all I'm going to say. It displays really nice. It does. It displays fantastic on a shelf. I said a 7 and a 7 for transformation and a 10 for his look. Overall, that means about an 8.5. Great score. In terms of his articulation, I'm going to say that that too is about a 7.5, because while everything is there, some hinges are a little too heavy, and some plastic pieces, like when you hold on to this arm to move the shoulder hinge, I almost feel like I'm going to crush it. You know? I almost feel like I'm going to crush it. Not that it's bad plastic, it's just the hinge is so heavily ratcheted. So overall score for this guy, he is an 8. Solid figure, solid set of figures. They would scale nicely with Masterpiece, but they are admittedly not top notch. And I suppose that's to be expected with this being a KO. Just for some size comparisons before we go edit here, now that we know that he's all right. Here he is with Little Itty Bitty Titans Return Bumblebee, and with Siege Optimus Prime, and finally, and here he is with Power of the Primes Orthea. And you may notice that my Orthea is finally complete because my Lancer finally came in. Sneak peek of an upcoming review there, because we'll be taking a look at her probably coming up next and see how well this whole gestalt actually works out. But you can see that she's about half the height of this big lad. And while we're at it, just for fun, here he also is with Siege Jetfire. So you can see he's gigantic. So there you have it. Big lad, a lot of comparisons. He's pretty great for display. Not the most functional thing in the world, but it turned out kind of beautiful. And while it certainly isn't a Masterpiece aesthetic, if you'd like to add the Throttlebots to your Masterpiece display, this might fill the bill. Would it fit in with a Chug display? I don't think so. I think that these guys are just a little bit too big for that. And here we are, and here he is, and it's impressive. This is an impressive combine mode, a heavy combine mode. It would probably, being oversized as it is, it would probably fall in line with the smaller side of like Titan class. I mean, you saw it there in comparison to like Siege Jetfire, for example. And Siege Jetfire comes up to about this guy's waist. Sort of comes up to about the waist of Omega Supreme as well. So that gives you an idea of how big this guy is. Naturally, it's larger than the Toyworld version. It's mostly secure, except this front chest piece. Like by right, you're supposed to have these upper flaps folded out, and they're supposed to tuck in behind these little plastic sections, but that can't really happen now because of the fact that this has broken hinges. Well, hinges that have been repaired, but I wouldn't trust them to be too strong. For display, you could leave them like this. This won't fall. It will be fine. The joints are mostly good, but some of the ratchets seem a little too heavy for the plastic used, like I talked about on the shoulders, for example. And while you can ratchet the shoulder out, when you squeeze on the orange here, it doesn't feel good. Like, it feels like it's not super solid. Or the blue on this side. I feel like the arms are a little less secure or a little less solid than the legs. But again, the same thing with the legs. When you hold onto the lower leg and you bend the knee because the knee's on a heavy ratchet, like it's fine, it's good, but you might pop a panel or something squeezing it. You might not. I don't feel like you're going to pop anything with Rollbar. He's definitely the best limb, best figure in the whole set of 6, to be honest with you. It's a fine gestalt. It displays really well, and it looks very eye-catching. It's definitely worth getting if you're in for like third-party combiners. It does have parts that go attached to it, but you know what? So does Zeta, and everybody says that they do combiners brilliantly. So maybe kind of having the separate feet, which we always have, and the separate hands, which we always have, is no big deal. Separate waist skirt, whatever. I mean, even if you don't even put the waist skirt on, that's up to you. The separate knee pieces might be all right too. They're not super obtrusive, but they do give them a nice range. In terms of the head and the shoulders, you know what? I'm glad that they have that piece for it, because this torso is trying to do too much already. And these pieces over here, the way that they're engineered, if you, I suppose, instead of having holes in the front, you could have had a combiner peg that flipped out there in the front, maybe. So perhaps you could have handled it better on the arms. But I don't think you could have handled it better for the head. I don't think it was a smart idea it would have been a smart idea to put like a combined mode head within this torso, because Wideload is not good. Not good. And unfortunately, because he's the torso, he sort of compromises the rest of this. My final assessment is this. It's alright for display, but I honestly think that for it to actually be good for collectors, we would need to have a completely redone main torso, a completely redone Wideload. Leave the limbs and the backpack just as they are, but this whole torso, and I guess you could even take, I said before in Wideload's review, like you could take this whole thing off, and indeed you can, but if you do that, then your combined mode is going to have a torso that looks like this. If you're cool with that, then you can remove this whole hinge, like you can pop that right off, and like Wideload will still get into robot mode, he'll still get into vehicle mode, but the vehicle won't look right. This will be the combined mode. He can still do it. It probably doesn't quite look right, but maybe that's okay with you. You know what? I think it would be okay with me. My advice is get rid of this because it's trash. You get rid of that, it's a great combiner. Wow, did I ramble on. Anyway, let me know what you think about Wei Jiang's offering here. Normally I like Wei Jiang, but I feel like this was in those early days when their quality was still a little iffy. Let me know what you think of the actual Toyworld one, you know, for as long as we can actually be a community here because of a bunch of idiotic childishness that's going on. But for now, let me know, you know, let me know across social media, like find me elsewhere and be like, hey, you know that combiner that you had? He's not very good. Or you know that combiner you had? He's excellent. However we do it, you know, I love to hear from you guys always. Wow, that hurt my face. I don't even understand my life anymore. Don't even understand. More important than ever, please hit that subscribe button. Stick around, have some fun with us. If you're in a position to help the channel to grow, then there's a donate link down in the description. Don't forget, never ever forget that somehow, some way, each and every day you do make a difference. And I look forward to the next time that you and I get together. Hopefully, you know, at the live shows for as long as we can do that. At the stop motion premieres for Universal Collision and whatever else I come up with there. And of course the old fashioned way, hopefully, right here inside the video.